Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. First off, I apologize if I sound a little bit off today. I am a little under the weather, but, the world goes on, and we're going to fight through this just as the Philadelphia Eagles fought through the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's go, fly, Eagles, fly. But yeah, we always have something to talk about on the channel, and today's absolutely no different. We already got an update for the biggest holiday release, and now actually Xbox's brand new franchise, Call of Duty. It's still kind of hard to fathom that Call of Duty is now Xbox's franchise, but I'll say this much, they have to be thrilled by some of the early results that's come out over the weekend. Now, there's also been some controversy around a new release and possible review manipulation. There's definitely some speculation that there's some shady stuff going on, so we're going to get into all of that as well. But if you're new to the channel, do make sure to hit that subscribe button. Only about 50% of you all are currently subscribed, and if you like this type of content, I'm here every Monday through Friday as I try to cover as much as I can across the entire game industry. Let's just go and get right into things, though, and I think you all know by this point, just like a lot of you all, I'm very, very excited about the Switch successor. If I'm being honest about things, the Switch has probably been my most played platform since its release back in 2017. And, Nintendo's had an amazing generation, albeit even as a Nintendo fan myself, that's very much enjoyed the Switch. I feel like by this point, it's kind of overstayed its welcome. I think most of us in the know are ready for the Switch successor, and because the hunger is there, the speculation for this thing has been wild, to say the least. It feels like every single day, there's a brand new rumor for the Switch successor and why it's going to get revealed tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after that. And for the most part, I think these rumors are baseless. Now, eventually somebody will guess its reveal week correctly, and I do say guess very deliberately here. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But once again, another one of those rumors exploded over the weekend, and this time for a countdown website that popped up online. And it claims that its reveal will be tomorrow on October 29th. And if that's true, then we should get an announcement relatively soon, I would think. And yeah, on one side, it'd be awesome if this was actually correct. But personally, I'm not going to put much stock into this. And for that matter, I still haven't really seen anybody properly explain why Nintendo needs to reveal the Switch successor in 2024. My thing about all of this is that they are still selling the Switch. That's their main console this holiday, and in my opinion, that's where their marketing focus will remain. They still have some new games like Mario and Luigi Brotherhood. I think that's where they want fans' attention. So I'm very much on the side that the Switch successor won't get revealed until early 2025, but as I keep telling you all, honestly, I would love to be wrong about this. If Nintendo comes out later tonight or, tomorrow and they say, hey, tune in for a reveal of our next console later this week, I'd honestly love to come back on here and say, hey, I was wrong. But in this case, I'm just not optimistic. And that's why I keep spreading caution. I think these reveal rumors are becoming more and more ridiculous by the day. Now, we did also get an update for Bungie's next game, Marathon. They, of course, announced it through a teaser trailer back in 2023, but we really haven't seen anything since, and the things that we have heard online hasn't exactly been all that promising. Well, they were recently asked about its development and where it's at, and they did confirm that it's gone through some aggressive changes, that they're iterating pretty heavily. But according to them, it is on track, and playtesting will expand in 2025 little by little. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the full game will release next year, but they said that they do plan to add a significant amount of players to each of their milestones. So if anything else here, if you are a fan of Bungie, and if you're looking forward to Marathon and what it has to offer, we should start to hear a lot more about it throughout 2025. Let's go talk about a big game set to release later this week, though, and that's Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And this really is an important RPG because a lot of us grew up in BioWare's heyday. Throughout the 2000s and even in the early 2010s, BioWare was universally viewed as an elite RPG studio with franchises like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. But since then, they've fallen off a bit with games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. Now, some people like those games, and, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're on that side, that's more power to you. But ever since then, there has been some concern about BioWare and whether or not they can actually bounce back with their upcoming games like the next Mass Effect and, right now, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Well, so far, Dragon Age: The Veilguard is actually looking pretty good in terms of its critical reception. However, there is some controversy with this. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But for now, if you look on Metacritic, it has an 84 overall score with 50 reviews. So that's pretty good. That puts it right in line with the original Dragon Age, which got an 86, and Inquisition, which got an 85. So again, it's looking pretty good so far. But like I said, there has been some concern about the validity of the overall score. Not necessarily individual scores. People are going to put their opinions out. But what's happening here is that Fextra Life, which is one of the most well-known RPG content creators, put out a video today which explained why they won't have a review ready for launch. And he basically explained that they, as well as others, seemingly were not sent review codes after their early impressions weren't 100% positive. Now, that doesn't mean that they were overly critical in the first place, but they did kind of voice a few of their concerns, and ever since then, at least in Fextra Life's case, EA kind of ghosted them. So this almost comes off as EA and BioWare screening reviewers through those early impressions. It's almost a way for them to kind of manipulate early reviews by primarily sending review codes to critics that will likely give the game universal positive scores. Now, it is important to keep in mind that this is only speculation, but it is something to maybe keep in mind. In my opinion, I'd say that if you're on the fence, what I'd do is just wait until you hear what fans say about it later this week. I mean, once it releases on Steam, we're going to get a lot of user reviews over there, and then we'll kind of see what people actually think about it, and I'll keep you all updated on the situation as we go along. Let me know what you think about this, though. Do you think this comes off as suspect? Do you think that EA and BioWare is actually trying to manipulate scores? Or do you think that the people who just didn't get review codes are overreacting and that's all there is to it? Let me hear it in the comments below. Let's go talk about a game that you can play right now, though, and that's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And this is a monumental release for the franchise because this is the first brand new Call of Duty game to release under the Xbox umbrella with a day one Xbox Game Pass release. So there's even more eyeballs on this installment than usual, which is really saying a lot for a game like Call of Duty. I mean, Call of Duty is consistently among the most popular games year in and year out. But there are more questions for this specific entry than usual because how exactly is Game Pass going to impact Call of Duty, which was previously a well-oiled machine in terms of units sold? How will this impact it? Well, the early signs so far are very positive for both Activision and also for Xbox as well. There's 3 key metrics that we have so far, with the first being from Steam database. Call of Duty is currently the 4th most played game on Steam with a peak high of 306,000 players since its release on October 25th. Now, keep in mind here that this is not 100% just Black Ops 6 because the way Call of Duty works on Steam is that the Call of Duty games are sent to a portal, which means that this is a combination of different Call of Duty titles. But you'll notice that before Black Ops 6 released, Call of Duty was hovering around 60 to 80,000 players. In fact, its 306,000 peak high is far higher than when Modern Warfare 3 launched last year when it reached 190,000 players. So by all indication, Black Ops 6 appears to be far ahead of Modern Warfare 3's launch, which is even more interesting considering its day one Xbox Game Pass inclusion. It's still peaked higher than Modern Warfare 3 despite that. And speaking of Game Pass, according to this article by IS Preview, they said consumer broadband ISP, phone, mobile, and TV provider EE has today claimed that this week's release of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on PC and consoles has driven the biggest ever amount of gaming traffic for a game launch on their network, with the largest spike actually hitting on Monday 21st due to the start of the preload period. They claim that EE saw a 144% increase in Xbox Live traffic, which is absolutely insane. That means the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is probably just lighting up the charts right now with one of, if not their biggest ever day for their subscription service. I mean, this is the exact reason why Microsoft went out and acquired Activision. Call of Duty is a powerhouse of a franchise, and based on these early results, Call of Duty had a monstrous weekend on Steam, far bigger than last year's release, and Game Pass subscribers are buying into Call of Duty in droves. Now, the one question about that, though, is whether or not they saw a big boost in subscribers. Ideally, they are looking for a boost in subscribers. Now, hopefully, we'll get an update for that sometime soon. Last year, they did tell fans that Starfield was previously the biggest day for new Game Pass subscribers. And I want to see if they give us another update like that for Black Ops 6. And for that matter, I think that's one of the most important things about Call of Duty compared to something like Starfield for Game Pass. You know, for games like Starfield, that was a single-player game. So you could subscribe to Game Pass for 1 month, beat it, and then just unsubscribe if you want. I'm sure a lot of people did that. But for Call of Duty, this is a franchise that could potentially sustain subscribers for a long period of time given its live service multiplayer elements. This is the type of game that fits perfect into their subscription service. Now, with all that said, though, that's the other key metric. The early impressions for Black Ops 6 has been fairly positive. Even the single player has been received fairly well, which has not been the case for recent entries. So, you know, it kind of looks like Activision actually pulled it off here. They're having success in terms of units sold. We're seeing that over on Steam. They're having success with Game Pass, and so far, it seems like a pretty quality product. So, hats off to Activision, and also big congrats to Xbox on what appears to be a success for them. Now, before we go, though, we also got some really good news for Nintendo, as apparently Yakuza Kiwami is selling well above expectations on the Nintendo Switch. This comes from RGG's head of studio, and he said, "So it looks like Kiwami is selling like crazy. I'm really glad. You know, the company's executives have been making sales predictions, but I was way off. I guess I looked at it too conservatively." So, I mean, you know, this is absolutely fantastic news for the future of Yakuza on Nintendo consoles. Previously, the last Yakuza game that we saw on a Nintendo device was on the Wii U. I believe that was Yakuza 1 and 2 HD, and they only released them in Japan, and they didn't sell well. So the fact that Kiwami is performing above expectations probably gives Sega a lot of confidence to recommit the series to Nintendo going forward. I imagine this probably solidified more Yakuza Nintendo entries, and that is great news for absolutely everybody. If you haven't already played these games, they're absolutely amazing, and when the Switch successor eventually comes out, there might even be an opportunity for some of those newer, more demanding entries. I think that would be really cool to see. But yeah, Yakuza being on more consoles, that old saying of, when we all play, we all win, or however it goes. Yep. Great news here. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, hit that subscribe button and peace out.